Hey there gamers, welcome back to the Board Game Co channel, and today we have a preview of Neopia Quest. Hey there gamers, it's Professor Meg here, and welcome back to the Board Game Co channel. Today we have a preview of a Neopia Quest by Soup Faerie Gaming. Now this is a current Game Found campaign, so you can check out the link down below for everything that they have planned. This is a sponsored video, and this is also a prototype copy in front of me, so all rules, components, things like that are subject to change. Now, in Neopia Quest, players are going to be playing cooperatively through different quests in Neopia if the name doesn't imply that already. So if you're familiar with Neopets, there is so much Neopets in this game. That's everything that it is. You're going to have a bunch of items, you're going to have your Neopets that you are playing as well as your Petpets that are going to give you special abilities, and all of the quests that you're doing are going to be very familiar to the game, such as doing things for the Soup Faerie. So there are going to be a whole bunch of things like that, but if you're someone who just also enjoys whimsy and cute characters, you don't have to know Neopets to enjoy this game. So in this game, you're going to be playing through these different quests, and they're going to give you different prompts. So throughout the map, there are going to be dice placed out, and you're going to use your action points every turn to move around, collect those dice to try to fulfill these different quest prompts to get you through the story of the quest. So you'll have multiple steps of that quest that you are working toward, and once you complete the final goal, all players will be able to win the game, but there is a time clock where you need to be able to do everything fast enough, otherwise you might run out of time. Now, currently what is set up in front of you is a two-player game. So over here we have the Asia player with their Hassie Petpet, as well as the Shoiru player with their Doggle Fox. So as you can see, players get set up with their Neopets as well as their Petpets. You have someone designated as first player, and you're going to have these trackers here for your different action points that you're going to be gaining each round. Now, depending on the quest that you're going to be playing with, you're going to have a certain quest in front of you, and that's what these tokens are for, are going to be related to this quest here. And then over here we have our main board area. So within our main board, we have our market where you're able to purchase different items on your turn that have some beneficial effects. And as I noted, you have your time clock here where you have your track of how quickly you need to accomplish things. So for example, for this particular quest for a two-player game, we're starting at 8 a.m. So we have a bit of time, but that can be deceiving, and you do need to make sure you are working toward the different quests that you have, because there are going to be multiple steps to them for you to accomplish them. So you're not just trying to accomplish one part of this quest, you're going to be going through a whole stack of cards trying to get through these different things that you are trying to do. So of course here is our main map of Neopia with all of the different locations that you have come to know and love, and you're going to have your standees here. So you have a standee for the different Neopets players, and in this particular quest you have the Soup Faerie as well, because you are gathering ingredients for her. So you may notice that all of the locations are connected by these different lines, and when players are moving, you're going to be moving along those lines. Now additionally, there are dice all over the board. So there are 3 of each color with 6 different colors, and at the beginning of the game you're going to roll them and place 1 on each of the different locations. And this is going to randomize the game for the different quests that you are trying to do. So with that, I think that's really giving you a general understanding of the setup and the different things that you're going to be doing. So now I'm going to walk you through what the quest is like before I go over the actions that players are going to be able to do on their turns. So for the different quests, you're going to have some information such as this is a time medium, difficulty low, in search of scrumptious soup. Help the Soup Faerie finish her famous scrumptious soup in time for the big dinner party. So then you're going to flip this over, and this is going to give you your starting setup. So it does note that you're going to start with your general setup, such as setting out the different items for yourself, grabbing your Neopets as well as your Petpets, but additionally for the clock, for 1 to 2 players you're starting at 8 a.m, whereas with 3 players it would be 10 a.m, and 4 players it would be 1 p.m, because you have more players doing things along the board. And then setting the scene, all of your Neopets as well as the Soup Faerie are starting in Neopia Central, which is where we are, and then placing these ingredient tokens for us to have on hold for when we are going to be using them later. So to now continue with that, now we have this flavor text from the Soup Faerie herself. Hello friends, the soup kitchen is bustling and I'm nearly out of ingredients. My special scrumptious soup has to fill the tummies of everyone coming to the dinner party in Neopia Central tonight. A Soup Faerie quest, your quest begins in search of a scrumptious soup, and then you'll flip this over. In search of scrumptious soup. Could you please lend me a helpful paw to make sure no one goes hungry? The ingredients I need are scattered far and wide, so please take this basket and collect them as fast as you can. Collecting ingredients. When you collect an ingredient token after each quest step, place it on the basket on this card and then get started on to step 2. So you can see where these quest cards are really walking you through how you're going to be starting the beginning of the game. Now this shows you what you're going to do when you complete a quest step, but I'll go over that later. And for now, I will place this over here for us to get started on step 2. So this is harvesting the baby carrots. I could really use a bundle of fresh baby carrots. They're the perfect base for a hearty soup, and honestly, Soup Faerie, I don't disagree. So the goal is place all dice in Neopia on this card, matching the numbers below 1, 2, and 3. And then once the goal is complete, you can collect the baby carrots and go on to step 3. So that's where you can see with the dice that are rolled here out on the board, players now have their initial goal that they need to scatter around and collect all of the dice that start with a 1, 2, or 3 and place them here on the card. Now, you're going to need to use your action points to be able to do so, but just for you to see, there's a 1 here, a 3, a 3, a 3, a 3, a 3. So as you can see, there are quite a bit of dice for them to pick up, as well as ones on that side of the board. And I will go over what that looks like when I go over the player actions. But another thing to note is that once this is completed, these baby carrots are where you would be able to place this here. And this notes, roll any of the dice on the quest card, randomly place them on a location without dice, and then go on to the next quest step. So that's what you would do once you are able to complete this. You would gain the carrots, roll any dice that are banked here, and then go on to the next step. So I am going to show you exactly what that looks like, but first I want to go over what the different player actions are going to be that you have available to you. Depending on the number of players, you're going to get a certain number of action points on your turn. So in a 2-player game, you're going to get 5, whereas in a 3 or 4-player game, you're only going to get 4, which is fine because you have more players there out on the board. But with those action points, you're going to be doing different things. So some of them are going to be very intuitive, such as moving around the board, collecting those dice that I mentioned, and then being able to place them out onto the quest cards. That's going to be the core of what you're trying to do, but there are other actions that players are also going to be able to take that are going to be able to enhance this for you, because right now we're trying to collect everything that is 1 through 3, but as the game escalates, you'll start to see that sometimes you need very specific dice as well. Now, starting with the first player, players are going to take their turns by gaining their action points, spending them appropriately, and then passing on to the next player. So we're going to gain our 5 action points here, and then the different things that we're able to do is buy an item from the card shop, which is going to be down here, and these are going to allow you to do things such as changing the number of a yellow dice, swapping a die in a location, and using a pet ability for cheaper. So going over that now, we are going to have our Neopet abilities as well as our Petpet abilities. So for our Asia, we are able to, for 0 action points, buy 1 item card, because normally that would cost you 1 action point, and they're able to do it for free. And one thing to note is that this market does not refresh until the end of your turn, so that's why you are limited to at least 4 of the cards that are available if you were to try to buy all of them. Now, for the Shoiru, on their turn, they're able to spend 1 action point to move 2 spaces on the game board as opposed to the normal 1. And then the Hassie Petpet ability up here is once per turn, spend 2 action points. You may move to a location with an odd die. So the Aisha would be able to use that Hassie's Petpet ability to move to some of those die that perhaps we're trying to collect that might even be far away as well. Now for the Doggle Fox, their ability is once per turn, spend 1 action point to turn 1 die to any even number. Now again, I'll get into why that's going to be important in a moment when we move on to further steps, but that's where the Doggle Fox is going to allow this player some flexibility. Now, as I noted, it is also an action point for you to collect the dice from the game board when you are in that specific area, but you are also able to spend an action point to re-roll the dice in your inventory. So you do have an inventory limit, and you are going to be placing those dice into your different inventory boxes. Players are able to trade dice for an action point as well, but you are also able to re-roll them if you're trying to meet a specific condition. Now, where players are able to buy item cards, you're also able to sell item cards to gain an action point. So if you did buy one and decide that you won't need it in the future, you are able to sell it to and gain an action point for yourself instead. Now, finally, you are able to spend an action point to add +1 or -1 to the dice in your inventory. So, for example, if we did have this orange 3 here, we would be able to spend an action point to make it a 2 or a 4. Now, we would have to already have that in our inventory, but that's a way that players are going to be able to manipulate the dice as well. So now to take a look at what a turn might look like for the Faerie player, they will spend 1 to move 2 spaces on the game board, and they will go 1, 2 down here to this 1 die in Altador, and then they will spend a point to collect that die as well into their inventory. And then they would be able to spend another action point to move 2 spaces again, and they could go 1, 2 over here to Bright Veil, spend another point to collect this die, and then finally they would be able to spend an action point to place a die over onto the quest card. So as you can see, that's going to be the general pace of play, that you're trying to accomplish the quest that is on the board, but during the first player's turn, when they start their turn after the first turn of the game, they are going to first move the time tracker down. So time is going to start ticking on the players, and you're going to have to start maneuvering around the board quickly, because getting the 1, 2s, and 3s for this particular step might seem easy, but then you have to realize how many more steps there are to go. So after this, there are the tomatoes to collect, and for this one, you want any of the green dice as well as any of the red, and they do have specific symbols as well. So they are colorblind friendly, where you have the triangles for the green and the stars for the red, and you're trying to collect any of those on the board. So even the ones that were collected for the first step that you did, once that quest is completed, you would roll all of these, place them back out onto different spots, and then you would still need to collect those. So for this one, you know that you'll need 3 as well as 3, because those are the amount of dice that are on the board for those particular colors. So that's what you would be doing for that step there, and then that would gain you the tomatoes as well into your basket. And then finally, players would go on to the broad berries, and for this one, it's going to be 4 odd as well as 4 even. So that's where you can see that re-rolling the dice that you have in your inventory or somehow adjusting them could be really useful, because you're looking for specifically odd or even dice, but any color, meaning that you're able to maneuver around the board, pick up dice, hopefully change them or have them already be specifically what you needed, and then be able to place them here onto this quest to gain the final ingredient. But that's not it, because this is not where the quest would end. We've simply only gained the ingredients for the Soup Faerie. So after that, players are going to have to continue on to bring the full soup, to fill the soup pot over in Neopia Central and bring them to the Soup Faerie where her standee is. And then after that, to finally complete inviting all of the guests to this particular soup dinner, you would have to place all dice in Neopia on the card in order from lowest to highest. So this is where you would finally collect all dice off of the board for this particular quest, and it would have you collecting 1s, then 2s, 3s, 4s, 5s, and 6s, ultimately sweeping them all off of the map. Now that is just one of the quests in the game where you are playing perhaps a bit of a cozier quest, because it's a low difficulty one. So you are working with the Soup Faerie, trying to gather these different ingredients and then deliver the invitations to all of the guests so that everyone can enjoy this delicious soup that she made. But there are different quests that you're going to be able to play where things might be a little bit more scary or intense, perhaps a bit more difficult, where the Grundos and Dr. Sloth might be attacking and you have to fend them off. So there are a whole bunch of different quests. I highly suggest checking out the link down below for you to see everything that they have planned, but there are all different quests that you're going to be trying to play through, but the general core strategy is going to be the same, that you're going to have these dice placed out on all of the different locations. Players are going to be gaining action points every turn, and then spending them maneuvering around the map, as well as buying items to enhance those different dice, and then you're going to be working with that to try to complete the different quests that you're playing. And of course, before we go, just to show you some of the items that are included in the game, here is our Starry Bunny Morphing Potion. Turn 1 blue die in your inventory to any number. We have Ultimate Jetpack. Fly your Neopet to Krellador. So that's going to take you to a specific area up here on the map. You have a Code Stone. Turn 1 red in your inventory to any number. Flower Petal Wings, fly your Neopet to Mystery Island, so certain items are going to take you to particular places. Dusty Magic Broom, refresh the item cards in the shop row and take an item card. We have a blue paintbrush, and of course, here's our rainbow paintbrush. Swap the die in your location with any other die in Neopia. So you can see where a lot of the items, all of the items are from the game, but a lot of them are going to be ones that you remember and played with because they were really important to you when you were playing through this. So that's going to be the different things that you were able to gain, as well as the quests that you were playing. Of course, here we have our ham and cheese omelet, things like that, that you're going to be able to look forward to. Neopia Quest is going to provide a very cooperative experience that is rich in lore, because you're working with the entire Neopets world, so you have these different quests that players are going to be choosing at the beginning of the game, and then you're going to be experiencing that entire quest. So, as you saw with the Soup Faerie, we were gathering ingredients for her and then inviting different guests to the soup for them to enjoy it, but you're going to have these different characters that you may know from the franchise, where you're going to be interacting with them and completing their different quests. So, the main game itself is going to have the same base elements, where you are rolling the dice at the beginning of the game, setting them out on the board, and then using that to try to complete the different quests as you progress throughout the game, using these items to the best of your ability as well to try to complete those different things that you need. But ultimately, the charm of the game is going to come in choosing the different quests that you want to play through and the story that you are interacting with as a cooperative team. So you're going to be enjoying the story together, working together, trying to accomplish these different goals, and I do think it provides a very cooperative experience. So if you'd like to see everything Ghost Faerie Gaming has planned, you can check out the game found link down below for all of the Neopets that you are able to play as well as the Petpets that are available, the item cards, and everything like that. Thank you all for watching the Board Game Code channel. I've been Professor Meg, and I will see you all next time. Bye!